Hi honeys, we are
Katia,
and Kyra.
and we're gonna tell you things.
Let's get into it. Hi, I'm Kyra.
Hi, I'm Katia.
And you're listening to
Horrified Honeys. Okay, so I'm doing the case of Daisy de Melker.
It's a cool name.
Yeah. Okay.
We're not gonna like her.
Yeah. Well. So when I first told one of my cousins that I was into true crime, this was the first South African case that I'd ever left an impression on me. And it's said to be South Africa's first serial killer.
Oh.
Yeah.
And it's a woman?
And it's a woman, baby.
Wow.
She was
I don't wanna claim that at all. She's not with us.
Daisy, nice name.
Yeah, I take it back.
She was the second white woman in South Africa to be criminally hanged. The second.
When does this take place?
In 1932.
Yes, like what did the first lady do?
The first, I'm so glad that you asked, Cara. Emily Shania,
Sure.
don't know. In 1903, her and her lover murdered her elderly husband with an axe and rocks and then threw him in a river.
Huh? Yeah, in South Africa.
Yeah, in the Free State.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
And then she was hanged.
Yeah.
And her lover also.
We will cover that another time.
Okay.
We'll get to that.
But that's
Not today.
Okay.
Okay. So now you must know Daisy is as bad or worse.
Yeah.
Okay.
And she was only the second. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, okay. So, the trial took place in Joburg, and it was 30 days long, and people lined up overnight like it's a Harry Styles concert.
Are you coming for me? Because I would definitely line up overnight for a Harry
No,
Styles
it's just
concert.
a reference you'd understand.
But, yeah,
you
I
know?
get you. Which is bizarre that
And,
you would camp
yeah.
out to watch a trial.
Just to get good seats. And then I tried very hard to do this. So then I eventually just wrote, imagine big inflation. It was
Smart.
they paid as much as 30 cents for final execution seats. Big inflation.
Oh,
It
is
was
it like
a lot
what
of
it would
money.
be today?
No, it's
You
like
don't know.
Yeah, I don't know what it would be today.
But I mean that's also just like crazy. Are you paying? I mean, even if you look at what happened this year with Johnny Depp and Amber Heard, like people buying tickets to be in the courtroom. People are hectic.
So this was like a huge case. It was like featured. It was featured worldwide.
Wow.
Okay, so let's chat Daisy.
Yeah.
So she was born in Grahamstown in 1886, and she was one of 11 siblings.
Ay. That's a lot of children.
Yeah, there were 7 girls and 4 boys. That's a lot.
That is a lot.
I
mean, my gran is also a sibling of a many. Yeah. Yeah.
Amani. So, the descriptions of her were quite funny because when she was young, they said, and I quote, quite pretty with blue eyes and dark hair.
Okay.
But then there's also things that are like saying that her hair is like unruly and it's like a mess and it's actually not very pretty.
Okay.
I don't know why that's important.
I mean, maybe someday she was having a good hair day and someday she wasn't. It happens to the best of us.
Yeah.
But we don't like Daisy, so let's just go with she was inconsistent.
Yeah, yes. So when she was 12, she moved to Rhodesia with her dad and her brothers. She went to boarding school, la-da-dee-da, she returned to Zim, all of that. Rhodesia is now Zim. Did I say that?
No, you didn't.
Okay.
But there we go.
There we go.
Remember, not everyone knows.
I'm sorry, people who don't know what Rhodesia, Zimbabwe is. There it is. So where they stayed is called Bulawayo, and it was actually, it's like considered a city. It was like boomtown in like the early 1900s. But it like said everywhere that this wasn't enough for her. Like she was bored.
Course. Daisy's a fancy gal.
So she's like, away I go. Like it was such a big city that it was also a province.
Oh wow.
And it was like, the place to be. She trained for 4 years to be a nurse in Durban. And then this is where things start getting juicy.
Oh, nurse, that's dangerous.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, I'm not going to say.
Don't spoil. Don't get ahead of yourself.
I'm like so excited to tell you. She meets her first, like on holiday back from her nursing stint, she meets her first husband, Bert Fuller. And he was an assistant commissioner of native affairs. So they said it was an enviable job and he was wealthy.
So he's a rich bitch.
Yes.
Wow.
He had government-owned housing with servants and even a car.
Oh, Daisy was loving it.
Yeah, she was rolling in it. So, they were planned to marry in 1907. She was 21.
Oof.
Yeah.
Do we know how old he was?
A mysterious age.
Okay. A question mark, if you will.
It was really hard to get consistent dates on this. Let me just say that. Like,
Oh, it's an old place, so...
yeah. And a lot of it was documented because it was so huge, but then, like, over time, everything has gotten wonky. They were planned to get married, and she was 21, and she postponed the wedding because...
Why, Daisy?
Why, Daisy? I don't know. Let me tell you. She didn't like living in the bush with him. And she wanted to finish nursing school.
Okay.
He worked back in the bush while she traveled to Durban, and as soon as she got to Durban, she got a telegram saying, like, return immediately, Bert is sick.
Oh, goodness.
So immediately she goes back, and he's contracted black water fever, which is like a malaria-related like complication, and you get really bad fever and like delirious, and your urine turns black because it's like hemoglobin leak, like blood type vibe.
I don't like that.
So yeah, he actually died on the day that they were originally going to be married.
Jeez.
So that happened. And then yeah, with that he left £100 to her, like in her. So back then they still used pounds.
Okay.
And 100, just to put into perspective, £100 could last her easily 6 months. So it's a lot of money. So
Good
now go
looking
back
out,
to the
dude.
Yeah, go back to the 30 cents. Lots of money. Moving on. She finished nursing school when she was 22, and she like worked at a nursing home, and people described her as very caring and very empathetic to like women who have lost their husbands in the war and things like that, because she lost hers. But then just 18, like it's under 2 years, 18 months, like a baby.
Yeah, you don't need to say that.
18 months after Bert died, she married William Alfred Cowell, who I will now refer to as Cowell because that's a long name.
Okay.
So he also worked for the municipality, but he was a plumber, but he also earned a lot of money. Of course.
Seems like a criteria
Yes.
for old Daisy here.
Exactly. So she was 23, he was 26, and they actually lived in a place that was like semi diseased because they were near the mines, and the sludge would come up and would like make everyone sick. She didn't stay there the whole time because she was like gross. But he eventually had like a bad back and a weak stomach. So already they're like, oh, his health is a bit suspicious. Okay. They had 5 children.
Sheesh.
4 of them died. Yeah.
From the sickness stuff.
So the twins died. The first ones were twins, and they died in infancy because they're premature. And then the only surviving one was Rhodes Cecil. Stupid name. So she had Rhodes Cecil when she was 25, and then the next 2 kids, the one died of convulsions, and the other one had an abscess of the liver.
Oh my goodness.
So yeah, it was really...
I wonder if that's like from living in a place like that.
Might be. Because they also, doctors back then, it wasn't advanced enough to be like, this was caused by this.
And also, did you say she's 23, 25, 23?
She's 25.
25, and she's been married twice and had 5, well, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Whew. That's a lot.
Yeah. So,
and finished nursing school. Okay.
And finished nursing school.
Yeah.
And she was a lovely, empathetic lady. And
Apparently.
very
Apparently
she was very
don't
caring. Once this had happened and they were like, oh no, our children are dead, they moved to Joburg. And Cowell, the husband, was like he remained very sickly and nothing would help his stomach. And like she would say to people, I'm so worried about his health, like he seems very ill, and like he would go to doctors and do over-the-counter remedies and stuff, and nothing would help.
Seems like there's a common denominator.
Yeah, isn't this strange?
Isn't that a little bit suspicious?
Peculiar, yes. So then, this is funny. He got much worse, but he refused to see a doctor because he was like, no, men don't go to doctors. And he was like very bad. And then eventually it got so bad that he was like, okay, fine, I'll see a doctor. But he was like practically dying. That he was like in bed, like convulsing and screaming in pain. Oh. And Daisy had called the neighbors, and everyone just stood there like helpless watching this happen. And he was like incoherent, sweating, vomiting, coughing, the whole situation. And then this confuses me. So it says that she prepared him Epsom salts for his constipation, because that's what Epsom salts, like if you have Epsom salts, it's for constipation. But he was vomiting, coughing, sweating, screaming. Like, when is he sitting on the toilet being constipated? I just
feel like you overthought that one, but yeah, that does make sense. That yeah.
Anyway, so she gives him these constipation salts, Epsom. And the doctor came and he was like, this isn't that serious. I'm going to leave.
This isn't that serious,
No.
But he's convulsing and...
Yeah.
Wow.
Nah, not that bad.
Chill vibes.
You look
See
okay.
you tomorrow.
Yeah. Here's some Panados. So doctor left and he died by the end of the day, 1923.
Sheesh.
And then...
I mean, that doctor must have felt pretty
just
shitty
wait.
afterwards.
Listen, this guy says he suspected poisoning the doctor that left and said it wasn't serious.
Wow.
He was then like, no, I'm not going to sign the death certificate until an autopsy's done.
Now you want to do your job.
So the autopsy was done by another doctor, and they said that he died of Bright syndrome, which is like, it's a kidney infection, and you get like a brain aneurysm, and you like internally bleed.
Oh my gosh.
All of that. But then after that, they were like, okay, this isn't suspicious. So they were married for 14 years. So she's 37 now.
Okay.
And he had a will. And he left her £1,795 and the house.
Yeah, he did.
Daisy moves on with her life. She's very sad and whatnot.
For a little bit.
For a little bit. She works in a hospital again for 3 years. And it's the Children's Memorial Hospital. And her son, Rhodes, the last surviving one, he was actually described as a dunce.
What?
Like, you know when you get like the cone on your head because you're like not very bright. Okay, he had epilepsy, and he wasn't very clever. So I don't even know if he really had epilepsy, because later on they're like, his epilepsy went away.
Okay.
That's not a thing. So she was like, my son is smart, the teachers are just bad. So she sent him to these fancy private schools, and he failed every single exam he took, everything.
Sheesh.
So then she was like, okay, you're going to trade school to be a plumber. And off he went. And she was like, you know what, actually I need a husband, I'm lonely. And a source even said that she missed sex, and like other men had said she was I quote, accomplished in the sheets.
Wow.
So she missed sex and she wanted a husband, and she needed a hand with her dunce child. I don't know if dunce is a word that's still used.
I've never heard that before.
But basically, I said needed a hand with Rhodes because he's still a turd. So she met.
Still a turd?
Yeah.
You rude to Rhodes.
Well, okay, you'll see.
Oh, okay.
So she met Robert Sprowart. He was 46, also a plumber.
She likes the plumbers.
Weird. Also liked to spend his money, which he made a lot of.
Of course.
And he dressed very smart and like took care of himself, and the word metrosexual was actually thrown in there.
Okay.
So she's 36, it's 3 years later after the other husband died, and she marries Robert.
How many husbands is this now?
This is her third husband.
Okay.
So the first one, black water fever, we don't
Yes.
know. The second one, suspicious.
Yeah.
Right. This is Robert.
Okay.
So, he also had stomach problems.
Wow.
How strange.
That's bizarre.
I know.
You don't say.
How weird.
Wow.
And the funny thing is, he didn't like Rose, the son.
Oh.
So he didn't like her son. He thought that he was spoiled and that he just got what he wants, and he was like unruly. And then they were like, he's very sickly. How strange. And he saw like quite a few doctors and took remedies and stuff, but it was the same deal that nothing was working. And then the next year, he became really badly sick with the same symptoms as Cowell, the previous husband.
Wow, shocking.
And he recovered.
Okay.
Yeah. And then he saw doctors that got ill, recovered ill. Like it was like a whole
cycle,
thing. Yeah. So she's been doing the thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So then,
do we know how old the son is at this point?
He is,
or like more or less.
Yes. So Rhodes is 16.
Cool.
And failed all his exams and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
And Robert is sick.
And better and sick and better.
And sick and better and sick and better. Oh, and the other thing they said about him was that he liked spending his money, and also perhaps why he was still a bachelor was that he enjoyed beer.
Wow.
A little too much.
Okay.
Okay. He's seen doctors and they diagnosed him with high blood pressure and like clotting arteries and stuff. So like that kind of stuff. And then a few weeks later, he's like, let me have a bezo with my wife. Has a beer. And then gets violently ill the next day. And this time it was fatal. So after having a beer with his wife, suddenly, very strangely, how could a beer do that? He was sickly. Anyway. So the doctor declared he died of the same thing as the other one, the Bright's disease or whatever.
So it's not like the same doctor seeing the patterns, maybe?
She was like moving around.
Oh, so she's not in one place.
No.
Okay, then that makes sense.
So the one guy was like in that weird, the mining area.
In the bush.
In the bush.
Oh, the second, yeah. Okay.
So they were like not suspicious. So yeah, he dies in 1927. No autopsy performed. They're like, cool. She buries him beside her previous husband. And she's like, I just want them to be together. And like, she was like mourning him.
That's
and
messed up.
very
Daisy.
tragic. She was crying at the funeral, and Rhodes just was like, chill.
Come on, you Rhodes.
So then, he had a will.
Of course.
But of course. So he left her £400 plus 560 from his pension fund.
Sheesh.
So after this, she's very sad, but she has a lot of money.
But she's rich.
She is rich. So she goes traveling with Rhodes.
Wow.
So they go to England and they like chat to all their friends there because that's where they're from. You know, like the English settlers people in the 1900s. And she buys him a bike, and then when they come back to South Africa, she like likes to brag, oh, he had this amazing bike, but we couldn't bring it back for him. Like, it was a whole deal. She loved people to know that she was rich. She got back, and because she'd gone on holiday and stuff, she couldn't get her job back at any, like, nursing place. So they were getting some money issues, right? And Rhodes couldn't help because he failed plumbing exams.
Hey, Rhodes.
And he kept, like, he would get small jobs, but be dismissed, like, 2 or 3 months later. Like, he couldn't keep a job, couldn't finish exams. It was bad. And they were living together, so eventually, with this money issue, neighbors heard them, like, arguing, like, violently, like, screaming at each other. And her relatives didn't like him. They said he was lazy, spoiled, rude. But then when she went to visit her relatives, and they saw that he was, like, this trash kid, they said, Daisy was a caring and loving mother. Okay. So now she has these money issues, right? So she thinks,
she needs to get married again.
I need to get married again. And she marries Mr. Sidney Clarence de Melker. Her name is Daisy de Melker.
Yes, okay. So we're on the last one now.
So we're on the last husband. And she's 45 at this point. And I think he was quite a bit older than her. He was a widower, and they actually called him, his nickname was Sloppy, because he had He was quite old and he had sleepy eyes.
Oh.
So they said that it looked like he was always on the verge of a nap.
Relatable.
And he was a South African celebrity because he was an SA rugby player in his prime.
Wow. So rugby's just been the sport of this country for a freaking long time.
You know it. He also had a daughter and she was 19. So the daughter's kind of the same age as Rhodes.
Okay.
Like around the same. So Daisy moved in with him and his daughter. And Sid was healthy, the husband. He was like healthy, nice husband, all of that. But then Rhodes moved in with them as well. And just like chaos ensued. He had violent anger issues. He even hit his stepsister.
Oh my gosh.
And like just got worse and worse. And he would argue with his mom and then like not listen to anything that the husband said and things like that. And then strangely enough, he started to get a weak stomach.
Oh, so strange.
How strange. So, stomach symptoms symptoms that were like his father's. So, genetics.
Oh, Rhodes started getting sick?
Yes.
Oh, I thought you meant the new husband.
Rhodes started getting sick.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, he was like, I'm a bad bitch and I'm going to be rude. But now he's sick.
Okay.
Pricey.
I thought it was the new husband.
No, Rhodes is sick.
Interesting.
So, doctor said that he was suffering malaria. And he recovered and it was like fine. And then he finally got a job working as like a mechanic, which he actually stuck to because he liked his bike and stuff. And slowly he was getting like ill again, like slowly getting like a really weak stomach, and he was like coming home from work like vomiting and sweating and like pale, like everyone else in the story. And then the one night he came home and he slipped into a coma and never woke up.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, turns out earlier that year in 1932, Daisy had traveled, this is far in that day, it was 17 kilometers. It was far then.
No, I get it, but it's just funny to hear that like now.
She traveled so far, 17 kilometers, from Germiston to Turfontein to buy arsenic.
Oh.
And she used her old name, so it couldn't be traced back to her. She used Daisy Sprout. Okay. And when the lady asked why she needed so much, she said, quote, to destroy a sick cat. Destroy.
Wow.
Destroy a sick cat.
Hectic.
And then, how weird, under a week later, that's when Rhodes started getting sick. Strange.
No
he seemed to be a sick cat. So, this night that he came home and he slipped into a coma, it turned out that a colleague of his at work also got sick. Turns out she'd bought arsenic. Now you know where this is going. So
I knew where this was going a long time ago. Daisy's got a
subtle.
pattern. So subtle, Daisy.
I wrote here the fun part. So the previous husband, Robert Sprout, his brother became suspicious.
Oh?
Because he heard of Rhodes' death, her son, and he was like...
Well, it was Rose dead, or he's just in a coma?
He's dead. No, he died. He never woke up.
Oh. Okay.
He died.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, and she was very quick to bury all of these people.
Of course.
Very quick. She was like, oh, tomorrow. Like the one, they even said that it was cold and they had to travel, so he had to be buried 2 days after. And that was like a long time.
Oh, my gosh.
The brother's suspicious, and he sees the death of Rhodes in the paper, and he's like, that seems a little bit similar, / exactly the same. So, like, Daisy doesn't know this, but he orders for the bodies to be exhumed.
Oh.
And first they took out Rhodes' body, and they found it in an unusually good state. So what I read is that arsenic is used as a liquid in preserving things.
Oh.
So
that's creepy.
It's an embalming fluid.
I don't like that.
So he was like preserved in his...
Because he was poisoned with arsenic. Ugh.
And it's like, it has to be a lot of arsenic to preserve you like that. And the government analysis found traces of arsenic in all his internal organs, his hair, his bones, everything. His hair.
Oh.
So then the other two bodies that they pulled up, and Daisy doesn't know this is happening. The other two bodies of the two husbands were mostly decomposed, but they got traces of strychnine.
Mean? Strychnine? Strychnine.
They found traces of strychnine in the spine. So it's
what is
like
strychnine?
It's like arsenic. Okay, wait. I wasn't gonna put this in, but since you pulled my leg, I twisted my arm.
Pulled my leg.
Arsenic, cyanide, and strychnine were like the Victorian era, like holy trinity of poisons, right?
Okay.
So strychnine was used a little bit less because it was so obvious, because people would convulse and their muscles would spasm so much that they arched their backs. Like picture the exorcism.
No.
So they're like,
I will not picture.
They're like arching their backs on their beds and like screaming in pain, and they like sometimes they call it the smile of death.
No, I remember you showing me pictures of this, and I don't like it.
So
I don't like it.
Google at your own risk.
Yeah, I would not. Google in the daytime. Don't. Oh.
So this smile of death would happen because the muscles got so contracted that in the face they would die in this huge smile, and it would stay on their face.
I actually forgot about that until I was there.
I almost wasn't going to say it. And the thing that actually kills you with strychnine is that the muscle spasms are so bad that you suffocate, because everything squishes your lungs.
Oh, I hate it. So they wouldn't use this often because it's so obvious.
Yeah.
Okay.
But
Daisy don't care.
Daisy don't know this.
So two of the husbands were found with that.
Yes, strychnine, and then Rhodes was found with a lot of arsenic.
And the other one?
Cyanide wasn't involved here, but it's just like one of the...
No, I mean the other husband.
Oh. The other husband they didn't exhume his body because they were like Blackwater fever.
Oh, yes, okay.
So that one's a mystery for me.
Oh, so we don't actually
We don't know.
Because then she left, and then...
Yeah. So I don't know. You could say anything about that one.
Yeah.
So they got all of this info, and the cops show up at Daisy's house, and she's like,
surprise! It's
whatever does this mean? So this is a week later after all of this is found, and the cops come, and she's arrested, and she's charged for all of the murders, and this case like blew up in the media.
Of course.
Huge. So she's charged, and she's like put into the prison just for holding for the trial and stuff. And because the media was such a frenzy, the pharmacist from Turfontein, where she got the arsenic, came forward because she recognized Daisy in the paper, and she was like, police, this is where, like, I know that she bought this arsenic, etc. And they were like, interesting. And then also because of the newspapers, Rhodes' co-worker...
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, so Rhodes' co-worker got so sick the next day because he had a sip of Rhodes' coffee.
Oh, my God.
Which she had poisoned with arsenic. So Rhodes, she had already been making him, like, sickly, so it, like, knocked him out. But this co-worker was just, like, out for a few days.
Just one sip.
Yeah, once. Yeah. Imagine how hectic that must have been. So, yeah, they went to the court with that. And shame, her husband, rugby player Sid, he thought that she was innocent, like he was supporting her.
Oh, Sydney.
But just wait.
What are we going to do with you?
Until he found the jars of arsenic at home. The big blue jars.
Daisy.
So then he gave those to the police, and he was like,
well, Sydney, I feel like if you don't... Well, I mean, I suppose their new husbands wouldn't know about the previous situations, but like...
And it's also like, woe is me, I have such bad luck, my husbands have died of aneurysms, supposedly. So the trial lasted 30 days, and it was trial by judge because the media frenzy was so bad, she couldn't have a jury.
But also, we don't have juries now.
They did back in the Dizzle.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. So trial by judge. The prosecution called 60 witnesses, And then for the defense, they had less than half of that.
Lol.
And they even had, on the prosecutor's side, they had an expert toxicologist and a professor of pharmacology included in the trial.
Great pronunciation.
Thank you. So, yeah, they were there and they were like, this bitch done it. And it was cool. So, so the judge, I also think he's a very cool judge. He concluded that they could not prove the first 2 deaths without a doubt. Oh, he says, it does not convince me, nor does it convict the accused. So that was done with those 2.
Yeah.
But then she was found guilty on the 3rd count for her son.
Of course, because he had so much.
Of course. And he said, I quote, I come to the inexplicable conclusion. I can see no escape from the conclusion that the accused put arsenic in the flask. And this was evident because the coffee flask had traces of arsenic. And the defense tried to say that it was suicide. And they were like, no.
What?
The judge was like, that you can't, don't even come here with that. No.
None of that.
None of that. So this is all happening over 30 days. And Daisy, in this time, is shouting at people, heckling witnesses. She, screamed,
that's going to help your case. Sure.
Yeah. And she was when she was cross-examined, she was insulting everyone in the court.
Oh, my gosh.
Crazy. And then he said, they do you have any last words sort of thing? So she stands up and she says, I am not guilty of poisoning my son. And the judge responds, there's only one sentence I can pass. And by that he condemned her to death by hanging. So she was hanged in Pretoria, packed cinema, a whole 30 cents a seat. And after this, the name Daisy wasn't used in South Africa over a whole generation.
Oh my gosh.
How crazy.
That is crazy.
And there's a book written about her and there's a mini-series. But my favorite part is that the Children's Memorial Hospital that she worked at, it's believed that her ghost still walks the halls and that nurses have seen her appear beside a sick child, and that sick child will die soon after.
I don't like that.
So that's the story of Daisy de Melker.
Daisy.
Daisy, baby.
Don't you know this stuff? I mean, I can't believe that happened here. I've never heard of that story before.
Yeah.
Never.
So that was the thing, when I was doing this, it's such an American sounding story.
Yeah.
Right? And that book that I read recently, they compare her to Belle Gunness, who is basically...
Oh, yes.
Exactly. Yes. It's exactly the same.
Yeah, that's who I was thinking of.
Yes. I explaining this case is just exactly like explaining Belle Gunness. It's wild. But yeah, first serial killer and most notorious poisoner, they say. And that's that.
Sure.
Yeah. Stupid.
Yeah.
But
also shame.
Yeah.
These husbands were just trying to be rich and be happy.
I'm glad that good old Sid made it.
But now, so obviously you said, Rhodes was but he was just what did he do wrong?
So, okay, good question, Kara. They don't know what her motive was for killing Rhodes. Because all her husbands, it was for money.
What I don't understand.
Yeah.
Because you said when he came to the house, things started getting really bad.
Yes.
And that's why we don't like Rhodes, because he got angry and he was hitting the stepsister. But then it's she almost did love that husband and was upset that her son was coming in and messing everything up.
So there's that theory. There's the theory that he was just he was horrible and she was not having it with him anymore. And then there was another theory that he was close to turning 21. And when you turn 21, you come in with a little bit of money. And he had been spoiled his whole life.
Yeah.
And it said that he was expecting more money than she wanted to give him. So that's one of the other theories, that she offed him to keep her money.
No, I wouldn't be surprised.
No, neither.
The thing about poisoning, though, is it's so deliberate. It's so premeditated, and it's so long that at any point you can be like, maybe not. And especially when the husbands or roads or whatever get better, and then they get sick again. So she's watching them, she's manipulating that. It's horrible.
She's like, you annoyed me extra today, I'll just slip a little bit more.
And it's like with roads, it's not like a impulsive, he was bad that day, he was irritating me. You know, it's like deliberate.
Yeah.
Okay, now I'm going to make you suffer for months, and then...
Like, it's just...
It's a different kind of mess.
For me, it's the second husband that he was like... He suffered for like years. They were married for 14 years.
Oh,
and he they spoke about his weak stomach this whole time.
And that one's also hard because, I feel like that would be hard to convict because of where they lived and because he could have been sick from that. But that's like when people like her are smart because they know there's always a reason for it or... But that's scary.
And that's the man that she had children with. Like that.
Yeah. And her one surviving child, she then goes and kills. I mean, Daisy. I mean, public executions also, I didn't even know we did that.
No, we did. And I just want to point out, when I was doing this research, they kept saying the second criminally hanged woman in South Africa. And then I was like, looked into that a little bit. It's the first criminally hanged white woman in South Africa because black women, they would not even think twice about doing that.
Which is horrible.
Yeah. So the reasons for her, the degree to which a white woman has to go to be hanged is 3 murders.
More than 3 murders.
One we just don't know.
Oh yeah, I keep forgetting. I just can't believe that, she didn't do it. I know. I feel like that's probably it's what gave her the idea. I don't know. Or maybe it was genuine, but then when she got the money, she was like, ooh, interesting.
Even when I was researching it, I knew that there were 3 deaths. She had done 3 deaths. But then when I was researching it and there was this first husband, I was like, wait, this doesn't match up.
Yeah.
And then he just dies by himself. No.
Yeah, no. Or maybe he did get sick. She came back and she was like, he's halfway there. I'm just gonna...
Maybe malaria hits you badly when your immune system's down.
Maybe she was already starting.
Yeah.
But then she left. That's what I don't get. I don't think she would have just left.
True.
If she had started poisoning him. She would want to be there because she's sadistic and horrible. But I feel like he got sick. Because there was a time period where she came back.
Yeah.
And then there was, so maybe in that time period she was like, I got an idea.
And then 2 years later marries another man.
That's horrible.
Yeah, so that's the story of South Africa's first serial killer.
And that memorial hospital, is that still a thing today? That people see the ghost
it is,
and stuff?
Yeah.
Where was that?
The Children's Memorial, it's in Durban, I think. And then the other thing I was going to say is that this first woman to be hanged, we need to do a case on her as well. Because it just sounds wild. It also just sounds like a case that I would have seen on Women Who Kill. It's her and her lover with an axe and rocks.
That's hectic though.
So hectic.
Sheesh.
Yeah.
Well, that was fun.
Yeah. And if you guys were interested in this, you have to go. Bailey Sarian did a video on Belle Gunness. And that story is just also crazy. And the book is Triflers Need Not Apply. And it is so good. Yeah.
And we will put all our sources in the little
notes. I need to stop singing.
So you guys can read up on it if you wanna. And if you have any cases that you want to suggest to us, then we will add them to our list.
Yeah. Pop them to the emails or the Instagrams.
Yeah.
It's horrifiedhoneys@gmail.com.
Yeah.
And the Insta is also Horrified Honeys.
Yeah.
Very original.
And we hope you enjoyed it.
And we hope you stay horrified.
Oh no.
Okay, so that's today's horrifying stories.
Indeed. And we are indeed very horrified.
Very horrified.
Shocking stuff, South Africa. Shocking.
Indeed.
Okay, peace out. Bye, honeys. Stay sweet,
Safe and spooky.
Oh, you're supposed to do it with
You're
me.
supposed to do a full one as well.
I did already. Come on, Katia.